You're thinking about moving to Orange County because it is undoubtedly one of the best places in the entire country to move. Now, there are 5 major mistakes that a lot of people make when moving here, or things they don't consider while making the move here, and we have figured this out through helping hundreds and hundreds of people move all around Southern California just since the year 2020. So in this video, I'm going to break down the 5 most common mistakes that we see people making when moving to Orange County. And if you're not familiar with this channel, my name is Christian. I'm a team leader and owner of Onyx Homes. And like I said, we have helped over 700 people move all around Southern California just since the year 2020. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into the video. And the very first thing we're going to be talking about is that a lot of people misunderstand or underestimate the cost of living. I did a video the other day where I said Orange County is the 9th most expensive place in the entire United States to live. Now, for people that live in Orange County, that might sound surprising. Honestly, I might think it's higher than that. But a lot of people moving here do honestly underestimate how expensive it is. The housing prices are obvious because you can just go on any website and look at housing prices, and that's not really a surprise. What is a surprise is a couple of things. I'll mention some things that are maybe slightly more obvious, but then I'll talk about some things that are just kind of unknown, if you will. So number one is like your gas, your groceries, things of that nature are a little bit more expensive just because the overall cost of living is higher in California in general, specifically in Orange County, Southern California. That type of stuff is kind of just a known. A second thing is dining out. So in general, now don't get me wrong, there's the hole in the walls that are super cheap. There's a lot of restaurants where you can go and you can eat, relatively inexpensively. However, in general, I realize this every time I travel, a lot of the times for work. If I'm traveling out, like unless I'm going to Vegas or Dallas or something like that, but if I go out to like a suburb somewhere else, for example, I visited somewhere in Texas that was just outside of San Antonio. I visited somewhere in Idaho. And when I go out to a normal dinner, I am anticipating to spend $100 for 2 people. And when I leave a restaurant with a $30 bill for 2 people, I'm like, what is going on? So that is one major thing in general that people just don't think or factor in to their purchase in Orange County. Now, obviously, you don't have to go to expensive restaurants all the time, but I just had a lunch today where I had a pizza and a caprese salad, and it was $80. And if you don't look at the menu prices at some of these places, and that wasn't like it was the fanciest place in the world, but it is expensive. So that's on one side of it. Now, obviously, we have to talk about the housing, and I'll get to the more unknown portion that very many people talk about at all. So the housing portion of this, I've got some stats here. So in Orange County, you have wide ends of the spectrum. So not all of Orange County is super expensive. For example, Staten's median home price is under $800,000. Now that's still double the median home price for the United States, but median home price in Orange County is 1.2 million. So Stanton is way less, and it's a really small little area kind of by Huntington Beach. Now on the flip side of that, Newport Beach on the opposite end of that spectrum has a median home price of $3 million, and that we see sometimes get up in the 4 million range. Fullerton is a good example of a right at par median home price of 1.15-ish. So depending on where you're at, home prices are all over the board, and that's going to be very dependent upon what you're looking for. But the one thing I wanted to talk about that a lot of people don't really consider is the lifestyle creep that happens when you're in a more affluent area. If you're moving to Orange County from an outside area that is maybe more rural, and you're moving maybe from a city, for example, this probably won't pertain. But if you're moving to Orange County and this is more of a level up, it maybe from status is the best way to put it. Like if you were moving from the middle of nowhere in the Midwest to Orange County, there would be a huge jump here is the lifestyle creep. Meaning that, again, when I go out and travel somewhere, and even if you drive somewhere in Orange County, say for example, if I'm driving around in San Clemente or Rancho Santa Margarita, you're going to see different cars than you will see in Newport Beach. In Newport Beach, you're going to be saying Mercedes and Bentleys and Rolls Royces and all the fancy cars. And in Rancho Santa Margarita, you're going to be seeing more normal family cars, tons of Tahoes, Suburbans, minivans, Teslas, things like that. If you're in Irvine, you're seeing white Teslas everywhere. But that lifestyle creep of nicer houses and nicer cars and better school districts and more money for private schools and all of those different things, that lifestyle creep is something that definitely makes Orange County more expensive from a lifestyle perspective, from a cost of living. All right, so that is mistake number one, is just kind of underestimating the total cost of living. Now, the second thing that I have is picking the wrong city for your lifestyle. I see this happen often with people who are coming in from similar-ish areas to Orange County, or even just moving around in Orange County. Here's a big thing is if you are looking for a nightlife type of a city and you move to Mission Viejo, you are going to be probably a little bit upset with that, because not only is Mission Viejo not have a nightlife at all, but you're not really close to anything that does have a nightlife. And I say Mission Viejo because that's where I live. And even if we want to go out to a nice dinner somewhere, we are driving for sure to get there. Now, on the flip side of that is if you want a really quiet and nice suburb neighborhood, but you move into kind of the downtown Newport area, you're not going to have that. You're going to have quite the opposite. Or in Costa Mesa, for example, is kind of the same thing. So moving to the wrong city based on the lifestyle that you actually want. Because the reality is when you're looking at just the houses, you can get a lot of different style houses in different areas in Orange County. And a lot of times people will just fall in love with maybe a certain style of home and not look at the other options around them. Here's a really good example is we deal with a lot of our customers come into Orange County looking only for Irvine. Irvine has the best schools, it's the safest, it's this, that, and the other, it's the central hub, it's very convenient, it's got all the food, it's got a lot of benefits. Irvine's great. However, we see a ton of people that are in their home search and they spend 99% of their home search only looking for the perfect needle in the haystack in Irvine. And then all of a sudden, because of their timeline getting a little tight, they expand their search to the surrounding cities, and now there are a million times more options. Now, our advice here on how to fix this particular mistake is to do what we call window shopping. So we cast a really wide net on our client's home search, or at least this is what we advise. Cast a really wide net on your home search, especially if you're in research phase. If you're not moving for 6 months or more, which is totally fine, cast that wide net, and then you're not looking for the perfect house to move into. You're looking at houses in person, not just online, and you're trying to eliminate the things you do not like, so that when you are ready, you have narrowed that down versus starting in the middle and then trying to expand as you go. I think totally the wrong way to do it. So number one is underestimating cost of living. Number two is choosing the wrong city for your lifestyle. Now, number three, this is a huge one, is not researching traffic and commute times. So if you're living in Orange County and you do commute for work, or if you just drive, like if you're driving two things, is picking a city and not factoring in commute times. Now, having said that, Orange County has traffic. Don't get me wrong. Not anywhere near as much as LA. So if you're looking outside of the area, like if you're looking to move from outside of the area and you are comparing Los Angeles or downtown San Diego to Orange County, I mean, we're not even comparable in traffic to Los Angeles, meaning Orange County's traffic is 100 times better, less traffic than LA. Having said that, still a lot of traffic in Orange County. Here's a really, really good example. When you're looking at Orange County, Irvine is middle. Irvine and south is South Orange County, and Irvine north is North Orange County. South Orange County is going to have significantly less traffic than you're going to have in North Orange County. For example, yesterday I was going to an Angels game. We took our team out. We did a celebration, call it our Onyx Showcase, to celebrate our agents. And we rented a suite, and we had 25 or so people that were going to the game. Super fun. And I live in Mission Viejo, and I drove up, and we were in the carpool lane. We were leaving at 5:30, so rush, worst possible time. And it took us 45 minutes to get to the Angels game. That's not necessarily the point. Is we did not hit any traffic at all until we hit until we hit like Tustin. So we zero traffic all the way through South Orange County. And then the minute we got to North Orange County, we were in 15-mile-an-hour traffic all the way to Angel Stadium, which is in Anaheim. So the point of that is, the reason I share that story is if you are commuting, you're going to want to factor that in. So for example, I had a customer that was talking to us, and they were looking at one of the homes that we are actually listing in Laguna Hills, so in South Orange County, right next to Mission Viejo. And they wanted to be in Irvine, and it's very similar to what we just talked about. And they want to be within like a 15-minute drive of their work, which makes sense. And this house is right about 15 minutes. But they're predominantly looking north of Orange County. So a 15-minute commute going north is going to be different than a 15-minute commute going south. So the reason we say this is to factor this into your actual home search, is to look at, okay, the farther you go north, generally speaking, the more traffic you're going to get. So people overlooking this is something we see all the time. And if you don't factor this into your home search, you're not going to know until you're actually commuting. And I would hate for you to buy something and then hate the commute and feel like you need to move earlier than you would have liked. So that's why that is mistake number 3. Now, mistake number 4 is probably the biggest one on this entire list. Maybe the next one will be 4 and 5 are definitely the biggest mistakes on this list by miles, like not even a comparison. Number 4 is overlooking, or I'm going to put 2 on this, is overlooking school districts. So not even not considering the school districts in your home search, or 2, only considering school districts in your home search. So I'm saying this is one mistake because we see people on opposite ends of the spectrum. Is there are some cities that, some areas rather, cities, neighborhoods, whatever it might be, that have really, really good schools. Irvine is a fantastic example. Ladera Ranch is a fantastic example. There are all kinds of other cities that are just known for having fantastic schools. And on the opposite side, there are some areas that are known for not having fantastic schools. And we see people that will just completely eliminate the entire city based on the rankings for school districts. Here's why, if you are only looking at the ranking of the school district or the particular schools that that house or area would go to, here's one major reason is most people don't even know how schools are ranked. So for example, one of the websites that we like to go to, niche.com for schools. I'm just going to look this up really quick. Schools in, I'm just going to look up Irvine because we're talking about it. So K through 12 schools in Irvine, and I'm just going to pick a random one that's not private. And then of course I find it private. So here's how the schools are actually rated. Most people would think that it's by academics. Like a good school means it's good for learning. I thought this, and then I actually started doing more research when I got into this business and realized, oh, that's actually not how schools are rated by these websites. So niche.com, for example, they grade on 6 different categories: academics, teachers, clubs and activities, diversity, college prep, and sports. Those are the 6 different categories that they're using to grade this particular elementary school, or rather high school that I'm looking at. So for example, a school could have the best possible academics and maybe they suck at sports and they suck at diversity, whatever sucking at diversity means, to be quite honest. And maybe they have no clubs and activities. So that school might be rated a C instead of an A because of things that, if you are worried about academics, but they're maybe not so diverse, maybe not great for college prep, I guess that'd probably be important. But schools and clubs, like 3 out of the 6 things have literally nothing to do with getting into college or good grade, like learning. That's something that a lot of people factor, I think, way too much weight onto. Because for example, for reference, I grew up in San Juan Capistrano. And San Juan Capistrano, in my experience, so here is an example, is I grew up in San Juan Capistrano, and San Juan is notoriously a city that if you are really, really into making sure you have the best schools, San Juan Capistrano is not known for having the best schools. And I hear that all the time, and like, I went to those schools. I don't think I'm the smartest person in the entire world, but like, I didn't have a bad schooling experience, and these are like considered not good schools. So that's one thing that I just see so many people factor so much into, that oftentimes they'll pigeonhole themselves into only living in one area, in Newport, or rather Irvine is just the one we hear the most with, and not even considering other things where like you could see a 9 out of 10 school versus an 8 out of 10 school, and on the 8s you get way more options. So that's on one side. And then on the opposite side, we have seen people that will move into one particular area over here, not looking at school districts and not really knowing that if they would have moved like one area over, you would have gone from like 4 out of 10 schools to 8 out of 10 schools, which does affect home values in some extent, like to some extent, because a lot of people care about it. Some people don't care at all. Some people care a lot. I think a lot of people care too much, and a lot of people don't look at it at all. So it is important, but I think the mistake is so many people either obsess about it and it really hinders their home search. Not that education's not important, but here, let me share one more example on this because we just hear it so often. Is home in Laguna Hills, for example. This is just top of mind because we were talking about it yesterday with a client. Is the house is listed at $1.7 million. If this home were in Irvine, it would be $2.7 million, maybe 2.5, right? It would be $800,000 more money at least if it were in Irvine versus being Laguna Hills, because Irvine's more expensive. And if schools are the most important thing and you're not willing to send your kids to the public schools that are where that Laguna Hills house is, for the $800,000 in savings, you could just send your kid to the best private schools, and you'd be even on cost, and you would have saved $800,000 on the actual price of the house if you sent your kids to the most expensive private schools, which there are some fantastic private schools in areas that don't have the best public schools. So that's just always something to consider as well too. So that's the number one. One of the number one mistakes is just overall way overemphasizing the importance of the schools or not looking at them at all. So that was number 4, which leads us to number 5. Now, if you're watching this so far and you have found this helpful, just real advice from us helping tons and tons of people move, I would highly appreciate it if you could like this video, subscribe to the channel. We put a lot of work into this. We put out 2 videos like this every single week. So if you subscribe, you'll make sure you get them every week. And then I'll talk about the next video that I would think you'll also find helpful. Number 5 mistake is relying on outdated or even worse, national news headlines to make your decisions here in Orange County, California. Here is one huge thing that I have learned watching the news over the last 5 or 6 years in hyper specific for the real estate industry. So here is what I have realized is that Orange County, our market here, is usually the last to be affected by bad news and the first to be affected by good news. For example, I have a buddy in Texas that does a lot of business and helps a lot of people in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And their market for the last year to year and a half has been super slow. Homes are sitting on the market, buyers aren't moving, prices have been dropping. Whereas this entire time here in Orange County, days on market is still super low, meaning homes are moving very fast. There is almost as much buyer demand as there is supply for homes, and prices have continued to increase this entire time. So for 18 months for us, we have seen almost an opposite market like in Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas. It's been a very, very different market. So we have seen consistently that the Orange County market is more cushioned to the market, meaning when things are bad, it's not as bad. When things are good, they are usually good faster and usually happens better, meaning prices will appreciate more and they'll be more sturdy. So when you are looking at national news headlines, for example, is you're looking at everything. So the national median home price is something like $430,000 as the time that I'm filming this. Whereas the median home price in Orange County is $1.2 million. So almost 3 times the median home price. So it's really hard to listen to national news headlines and have that talk to what's actually happening here in our local market, which frankly is why we put so much effort into making sure we are educating our clients on what we are actually seeing happening in our market. We put out a monthly market update every single month, and if you want to get on that newsletter, you can go to allaboutoc.com, drop your information, and we'd be happy to add you to that newsletter. We send that out every single Friday, and the first one of every month shares what's going on in the marketplace. So national news headlines is one thing you definitely do not, you want to look at it to know what's going on, but don't read what's going on in the national news headlines and think that's what's happening here. Here's a very real example. This week I saw headlines that said 33% of all listings are having price reductions. In the sub headline there is like, and prices are falling. And what they don't say is that 33%, and that's a national number, and that might be true. That is definitely true. Obviously, I don't think they made that up. We are not seeing 33% of listings get price drops, and the houses that are getting price drops were overpriced, undermarketed, and didn't look good. So in our market, what we are seeing is looks good, priced right, marketed well. Those homes are selling very fast. If you miss any of those 3 on a listing, the homes are sitting. So if you're as a buyer looking at this ugly house, priced right, marketed well, go look at it in person because it's probably going to be a good deal. All right, so again, if you like this video, I'd appreciate a subscribe and liking this video. It'll help push it out to more people. On top of that, I made this other video, which is the #1 reason why people relocate to Orange County. So if you're watching this video and you like it, I think you'll love this next one. I'll see you there.